What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another one. If you're new to the channel, I am Gold Pony. I do new car, truck, SUV reviews on YouTube, and today we're in the brand new 2025 Honda Odyssey, courtesy of Sioka Honda in Hanover, PA. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. So we are in this one today because, believe it or not, there are tons of changes for the 2025 model year. Of course, the Honda Odyssey is known for very good reliability as well, and you got a ton of space. I'll be going over all those cargo numbers a little bit later in the video, but ultimately in this video we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. It's, as you can imagine, there are several different trim levels for the 2025 Odyssey. First one being the EXL, starting at $41,920. Sport L, which is the one we are in today, starting at $43,070. Touring for $46,610. And lastly, the Elite, starting at $50,880. And so if you're curious, yes, the EX trim level has been eliminated for the 2025 model year, but regardless of the trim level that you go with, the power plant on the Odyssey is going to be the same. Powering the beast is a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6, putting out 280 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, 262 pound-feet of torque coming in at 4,700 RPM. That power being sent to the front wheels through a 10-speed automatic with paddle shifters, believe it or not, on a minivan. We'll be testing those out in a little bit. 0 to 60 time approximately 6.5 seconds. That's actually pretty darn impressive. Top speed, if you're interested, 111 miles per hour, with MPG numbers coming in at 19 in the city, 28 on the highway, taking regular unleaded fuel. So before we do any kind of fun acceleration or paddle shifter test here in the Odyssey, I did want to mention to you guys, there are a few drive modes. First, you got the sport drive mode, which is the drive button essentially. Just press it again, you got your sport drive mode. To the left of that, you got snow and econ. So ultimately, those buttons are going to adjust things like the shift points, the throttle response, and in the case of the econ driving mode, the AC system as well. It's going to tailor that back a little bit. So anywho, now having got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find it straight away. Let's put the paddle shifters here to the test first. I'm not sure why paddle shifters are on a minivan, but let's see how quickly they're going to react for us here. All right, got it in manual shift mode. It's telling me I'm in first gear here up on the gauges, and let's see if it shifts for me. Oh, it did, dang it. Huh. They're actually not that bad, believe it or not. The paddle shifters are relatively quick. Now, they're not like Porsche quick, but they're pretty darn quick, surprisingly. I'm still not sure why paddle shifters are on a minivan, but what the heck, why not, right? So actually, they're not that bad. But let's go ahead and find one more straight away. I'm gonna give back full control here to the Odyssey, and let's see how quickly we can get this one here up to speed. All right, once again in sport driving mode. 3, 2, 1, go. What the heck, man? First off, when I said that 0 to 60 number, 0 to 60 is 6.5. That's pretty darn impressive considering the size of this vehicle, considering it's a minivan. That was actually a pretty darn good acceleration there. Now, I will say there was a slight bit of slipping, but nothing that would worry me, because a lot of times if you put all that power to just the front wheels, you're gonna get a lot of slipping. But that was just, it was hardly any, but it was a little bit. Having said that, Honda, I think it's about time you come up with an all-wheel drive system for the Odyssey. I think that's what everyone's looking for. The Sienna's got it. That's really the main competition for this. So that's what I would love to see on the Odyssey, because I think this is a darn good van. I like this. So quite honestly, what I'm trying to say is that acceleration was plenty impressive for a minivan, and I kind of wish there was all-wheel drive, but the front-wheel drive does a really good job nonetheless. But to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. And so up front, you will find 12.6-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 13-inch solid rear discs. As far as that 60-0 stopping distance goes, that comes in at 124 feet, which is actually a pretty good number. As far as braking feel goes, it's great. Honestly, it feels perfect. This is a wonderful braking feel for the Odyssey. No doubt about that. So no issues there. Then touching on suspension and handling, up front you're going to get a McPherson strut front suspension. In the back, multi-link rear suspension with trailing arms, front and rear stabilizer bars. As far as ride quality goes, it's okay. It's pretty much as you would expect. I don't think it rides as smooth as a Honda Pilot, for example. You do tend to feel a little bit more of the road, but it's okay. It gets the job done. As far as steering feel goes and handling, I love it, dude. Like, the handling in this Odyssey, in any minivan, if it handles like this, it's a good thing. So the handling, the steering feel is definitely on point in the Odyssey here. I didn't expect it to be this nice when it comes to handling, at least. But then touching on cabin noise, we're going 41 miles per hour right now. I don't have any issues with the cabin noise. It's been pretty serene for the most part, so that's perfectly fine for me. And that may be due in part because there is an acoustic laminated front windshield, there's acoustic laminated front door glass, and acoustic laminated rear door glass as well. That rear door glass being acoustic laminated, a lot of times that's an option on like Mercedes-Benz and BMW. So the fact that that comes standard on the Odyssey, that's pretty darn cool. I like that. But anywho, then touching on rear visibility, I could see pretty darn good out the back. And the cool thing about rear visibility, at least, is if that third row is not in use, I see the headrests are pushed down kind of into the seats right now. So that's definitely going to help out with rear visibility. And the second row headrests are far enough to the sides that I could see perfectly fine out the back. So for a minivan, rear visibility is 100% on point in this thing. Definitely no issues there. And touching on forward visibility a little bit, rain sensing windshield wipers do come standard on the Elite trim level only. So I wanted to mention that. So that's going to help you out there too. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, you guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our brand new 2025 Honda Odyssey. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2025 Honda Odyssey, finished in radiant red metallic. In case you were curious about the name of our exterior color that we had on this one with us here today. But as always, let's go ahead and start with where the Odyssey is made, taking a look at the VIN. First character is the number 5, indicating that the Honda Odyssey is built and assembled here in the US, at least for US customers. But let's go ahead and start with what's new, because there's quite a bit on the exterior here. You got a new front grille, still coming with active grille shutters, meaning the grille shutters are going to open and close depending upon the engine cooling that is needed at any given time. So let me know what you think of that new style front grille. You got a larger blacked out surrounds on the fog lamps as well. That's down to the corners there. You guys can see that. And by the way, LED fog lamps or fog lights coming standard on every single trim level across the board, even that EXL. So that's pretty darn cool. You got new colors for the 2025 model year as well. Solar silver metallic and smoke blue pearl, in case you want the latest and greatest color options for 2025. But starting up front, LED headlights to the corners there with LED daytime running lights. Yes, that comes standard for all trim levels across the board. You get the automatic feature as well, along with automatic high beams. So if you have your high beams on at night and it senses a vehicle coming in the opposite direction, it's going to automatically dim them back to low beams. Then when that vehicle is gone, it's going to automatically bounce it back up the high beams for you there. So super convenient feature there, really a safety feature in itself. But it looks pretty similar to last year's Odyssey, little different front grille, but other than that, more or less the same. But that pretty much rounds out the front end. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the side. All right, so now since we are around to the side of this one, rear privacy glass does come standard. Got some chrome belt line molding towards the bottom of those windows as well, of course. Body colored power adjustable side mirrors coming standard that will be heated with integrated turn signals. You're going to get the reverse gear tilt down feature for all trim levels as well. That's pretty convenient. And those side mirrors are going to be power folding and auto dimming as well if you go with the Elite trim level. That's how you're going to go ahead and get that. But new wheel designs for 2025 as well. I'll tell you guys about that here. 18-inch silver alloys for the EXL, 19-inch gloss black alloys for our Sport L trim level that we have with us here today, 19-inch silver alloys for the Touring, and lastly 19-inch machine finished alloys then for the Elite. But that pretty much rounds out the side. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the back. All right, so but now since we are around to the back of this one, this is probably my favorite kind of change up for the 2025 model year. Let me explain here. So all the way to the top, you're going to get a body colored shark fin antenna. Just below that, rear spoiler with an integrated brake light. Just below that, rear window wiper. Got that chrome belt line molding continuing on just below the rear glass yet again. Got LED taillights. They do come standard as well. You got a new rear bumper design. And what they did with the rear bumper design, check this out. You now have the reflectors to the bottom corners there that were taken off of the now out of production Acura NSX. So this is the Acura NSX of minivans, taking off the supercar from Acura. That's pretty stinking cool if you ask me. I like that. And just below it all, you will find a single exhaust outlet. It is tucked away, but having said that, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next here. As always, here is that exhaust clip. Alright, so now since we are around to the back of the Odyssey, when it comes to opening that rear lift gate, a power lift gate does come standard for all trim levels. You gotta love that. And then a hands-free lift gate is going to come on that elite trim level, but there is a button on the key fob. There is a rubberized button, of course, on the lift gate itself then as well. But once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 32.8 cubic feet behind that third row. It's actually a ton of space behind the third row. Just for comparison's sake, real quick, Kia Telluride comes in at 20. I think Hyundai Palisade comes in at like 18. I think the Toyota Highlander maybe 16. So 32.8 cubic feet behind the third row. That's a ton of space. But anywho, with the third row down, 86.6 cubic feet. So just behind the second row, you have the same amount of cargo space as if all the rows folded down in the Toyota Highlander or Honda Pilot, let's say. That's a ton of space there. Then with all rows folded down, 140.7 cubic feet. That's so much cargo space. So Chevy Suburban, that super ridiculously large SUV, comes in at 144. This one comes in at 140. Honda Pilot comes in at like 87. Kia Telluride 88 with all rows folded. So 140.7 cubic feet. That is so much space. This is the ultimate road trip mobile, I'm telling you guys. But anywho, there is a 12-volt power outlet back there. You got some cargo lighting. There's grocery bag hooks, and the trunk, the cargo area, it's just so deep back there. It's insane. But anyways, then making our way up to the third row legroom, that is going to come in at 38.1 inches. That's usually a second row legroom number, but for reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the third row there. The second row can be pushed forward and backwards, so you can make more room even for those third row passengers if you needed to. Got some cup holders for those third row passengers as well. USB charging ports for the sport trim level and up. I like seeing that. So one side for the third row passengers, you got 2 USB charging ports. The other side, you have a 12-volt power outlet. So either way, everyone stays charged up. That's pretty cool. Third row sunshades coming with the touring and elite trim levels. So we don't have them with us here today, but that would be cool to see too. And of course, you got rear ventilation that is found kind of on the sides for those third row passengers there. But then making our way up to the second row legroom, that comes in at 40.9 inches. For reference, I'm still an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the second row there. 8 passenger seating does come standard for all trim levels across the board, but if you find yourself saying, I want captain's chairs, I don't want the bench seating, you can take out the middle seat and make it into captain's chairs if you wanted to. So there you go, something for everybody. Rear ventilation, yet again, coming standard. USB charging ports for those second row passengers. But here's the cool thing, rear window sunshades come standard for all trim levels across the board. So even the EXL got rear window sunshades for those second row passengers. I love that, because when you get your kids fast food, sometimes you just pull into the parking lot to eat it. Sometimes the sun's blaring on one of them, and they got the rear window sunshades for that. So that's pretty stinking cool. Anyways, then make our way up to the front seats. Leather seating for all trim levels across the board. That's what the L stands for in the first 2 trim levels, of course. 12-way power adjustable driver's seat with 4-way power lumbar coming standard with memory settings for 2 different drivers. That all comes standard. You gotta love that. 8-way power adjustable passenger seat with 4-way power lumbar coming standard as well. Heated front seats coming standard as well. Ventilated front seats are going to be had with the elite trim level only. Overall, as far as seat comfort goes, it was actually perfectly fine in my short little test drive here today, so I definitely didn't have any issues there. Then taking a look at the steering wheel, it is tilt and telescoping. It is leather wrapped. It is going to be heated for the elite trim level only, and I do wish the 10-2 grips were a little bit thicker. It kind of reminds me of like a Volkswagen Beetle steering wheel. They're just kind of thin grips, but it gets the job done nonetheless. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key here. You got your Honda logo on the one side. When you flip it over, tons of buttons: lock, unlock, the button to pop the rear tailgate there. Remote start, that's the circular button that you hold, and that's going to be had for all trim levels across the board, so that's pretty cool. And then of course you got the side door buttons in the middle there to open and close the side doors, but it is all keyless entry with a push button start. So all I'm going to do here is simply pump my foot on the brake and press that engine start button located just to the left of the shift buttons there. But so then once started up, if you're familiar with Honda, you're familiar with this gauge cluster, you kind of have the digital 7-inch screen to the left, the analog gauges to the right, but you can control what is on there by using the steering wheel mounted controls, but gives you things like your outside temperature, of course, trip A, trip B, how many miles you have left until you hit empty. There's speed limit recognition, of course, digital speedometer as well. It's kind of on the basic side. I will say that. Wouldn't have minded if they added a little more customization, maybe a full digital gauge cluster, or if you went analog, at least make a little bit better of a design rather than just a black and white theme, because back in the day, back in the 90s, Honda and Toyota in general used to do these white gauge faces with these blue needles and blue numbers, and everything looked so dang good. Now everything's gone kind of basic recently, but except for the digital gauges, they've always been pretty good. But now let's go ahead and make our way to overall interior quality. A power moonroof comes standard for all trim levels across the board. I love that personally. Tri-zone climate control for all trim levels. Home link controls to up to 3 different garage doors. All trim levels yet again. That's found at the bottom portion of that rear view mirror there. Blue ambient lighting for all trim levels but the Sport, because the Sport trim that we have today gets red ambient lighting, which goes well with the push button start and our red exterior that we have with us here today. Wireless phone charger for all trim levels across the board. That's just behind the dual cup holders here. Speaking of, if you go a little further back, you're going to find a ton of space within that center armrest. Just in front of the cup holders though, kind of have this rubberized storage area where you could probably put a purse or something like that, so things don't slide around. Just above that, you have the 12-volt power outlet, couple USB charging ports, and there's even a secret little 007 kind of tray that you can pull out that I almost didn't even see there. So you wouldn't think it was there. It's very very camouflaged there, so that was pretty cool. But overall, I will say everything's kind of on the basic side, at least on our Sport trim level that we have today. We got black plastic door handles, we got black plastic surrounds on that. Ton of storage on the side doors, though I do like that. There's like 3 different tiers, whereas you typically get 1 or 2 tiers. The Odyssey has 3, so that's kind of cool. You also have an overhead sunglass holder. Don't want to forget to mention that, with a school bus style mirror, as many minivans have these days, so that's kind of cool too. So overall, it gets the job done. It's very practical. I don't mind it. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the infotainment screen here. You get a 9-inch color touchscreen display coming standard across the board. Bluetooth and audio streaming coming with that. You get Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but it is wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, so that's pretty stinking cool. Factory navigation system is going to come on the Touring and Elite trim levels. That's pretty nice. You get Honda's famous clock icon. I always love pulling that up because it's something Honda's done for a while now. I think it looks cool and it's unique. No other manufacturers do that. And of course, you can check out your radio information up there as well. So when it comes to the sound systems, essentially there's 2 of them. You get a 7-speaker sound system with 160 watts for all trim levels but the Elite. And then the Elite is going to give you an 11-speaker sound system with 550 watts. So having said that, we got the 7-speaker sound system with us here today. So what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and turn on the radio. Let's see what we got playing this morning, and let's test out the clarity of this one. It sounds like a 7-speaker sound system, but man, I miss the Smashing Pumpkins. Haven't listened to them in a while. I had that CD back in the day, but yeah, it's an okay sound system. It sounds like 7 speakers though. If you really like music, go with the Elite trim level. That's how you're gonna get the upgraded sound system. But last thing I wanna mention to you guys on the infotainment screen is when you do put the Odyssey in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard across the board with a few different views down to the bottom left-hand corner there, which is always going to lead us into safety. So let me start with the best part. IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus. It does not get any better than that. That's the highest rating given by IIHS. So that pretty much says it all right there. Front side curtain airbags do come standard. Get driver and front passenger knee airbags as well. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats. Rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard. Honda Sensing. So this is a good one. Collision mitigation braking system, road departure mitigation system, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, forward collision warning, lane departure warning, traffic sign recognition, driver attention monitoring system, and a blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert as well. Then if you were to go with the Touring or Elite trims, you're going to get front and rear parking sensors. So overall, when it comes to my final thoughts here of the Odyssey, tons of space, 140 cubic feet of cargo space. That is insane. You never see that in SUVs except for the Suburban. This thing even has more space than the Chevy Tahoe. That's crazy. The NSX reflector lights on the back end, I personally love that. I think that's such a cool little added touch. You can say, if you buy the Odyssey, you could say you have the Acura NSX of minivans, and that's pretty stinking cool. I would say that, but decent handling for a minivan as well. That kind of surprised me. Now, the only 2 things I would change about the Odyssey, I think it would sell so much better. For one, if they added all-wheel drive. That is a necessity here in Pennsylvania because we do get snow. And that's not a necessity. You could probably get by without it, but it's definitely going to help you out with all-wheel drive. And the other thing is, for the same price, you can get the Sienna, which is a hybrid, which gives you probably the same reliability, of course, but with 36 miles per gallon, because it's a hybrid and all-wheel drive. So if it were me, I'm saying this as constructive criticism because I love Honda, the brand. I've had probably like 6 Hondas in my lifetime. My first car was a Honda Integra, or DC5 Integra, Acura RSX for us here in the US. So I love Honda. But I want this to have all-wheel drive and a hybrid to compete with the Sienna, because logically, wouldn't you rather have better MPGs and all-wheel drive? I hate to say that because I'm a big fan of the Odyssey, and maybe you don't need it if you live in Florida or Texas or something like that, but that's just my constructive criticism. But let me know what you guys think of the Odyssey in the comments section below. That's about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to follow me on social media at the bottom of the screen if you want to see what's coming next on the channel before it gets to YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe and the bell notification button if you're into new car reviews, because that is what we do here on this channel after all. Do appreciate you guys watching more than you know. I will see you guys all in the next video. Stay gold.